Welcome back, friends. In today's video, I'm going to do a review of the Vevor 12 kilogram smelter that I bought on Amazon. For my normal subscribers, so you know what's going on, I'm going to try to take and fit in some of these reviews because I figure, I'm picking up a lot of new products and that might benefit somebody else as well as possibly drive a little traffic to the channel. Without any further delay, let's get to it. Alright, so for me, in order for it to be a good review, there's got to be a few things that are involved. And it's not just simply telling you whether or not it's worth it. For a smelter, I want to know how long it's going to take to melt some things. So we're going to do actually a controlled test with 3 different types of metals. I do want to know if it's durable. I do want to know how it overall feels. Does it feel like a piece of crap, or does it feel like something that somebody put some quality work into? And then of course there is, would I actually recommend it to a friend? Of course I got to tell you whether or not I would recommend it to a friend, but I also got to tell you that there's something bad about it. If somebody does a review and they don't find something that could be improved, it's probably not a good review. And I'm also going to show you any tips and tricks that I learned on the way. First, I want to talk about why I picked this one. What makes it stand out to me versus the other ones? Alright, so the one great thing is this can be used as a smelter and then it can be tipped on its side for a forge. Now to me that's very important because I want to do both in metalwork. The other aspect that I really like about it is it has 2 burners, and that's going to really take and heat stuff up fast, which we'll give you some numbers later, but it's also going to provide a more even heat, especially if you want to take and heat up and temper some knives. So now at the time I bought this, compared to a standard one, it's about $50 more. So the double burner, or the fact that you can forge with it, would have to be worth at least 50 bucks for you. And I really think it is, just having that option available there, if you have the money. All right, let's talk a little bit about packaging. To other people, this may be a bigger deal than it is to me, but to me it was pretty standardly packaged. I didn't see any issues where something could have got broke. And here's what it comes with. It comes with a handle. Of course, you saw the user's manual. It comes with the 2 nozzles, the 2 burning tubes. Here you can see it's assembled together. It comes with a pair of tongs to pick out the crucible. I'm going to modify these later. And then it comes with a high flow regulator. As you can see, the crucible is packed in here pretty well. It would have been nice if there would have been another ring of foam on the bottom, but I think this worked just fine. Some of these are bound to break in shipping regardless. Oof, that's a big boy. As you can see, the main forge itself is wrapped in plastic. That's nice because it keeps the particles from getting into the air. It did come with 2 fire bricks, one for when you're smelting and one for when you're forging. Most importantly, it passes the Tober sniff test. So far I'm really liking the quality of this. I like how they folded over the edges on the stainless steel. There's no sharpness to it. Nothing feels super cheap. There could have been a little deburring on these flame tubes, but it's not something you're going to be grabbing a hold of. Everything's good so far. I hope I don't find an issue with it. So now for forging, you're limited because of the fact you can't put anything through this, but I have an idea in order to use these flame tubes in order to make my own, and that's going to be in a future video. Alright, now normally these should be treated so that way you don't have particles going into the air, and normally they use a colloidal alumina rigidizer. Hope I said that right. So I did stumble across on the internet that you can use refractory cement and you can put a thin layer everywhere. That's what I did. I would not recommend it. I would recommend the latter. However, that's what I did, so let's move forward with it.
Alright, so on to the comparison. Now as you probably already know, metals weigh quite different depending on what they are. This is actually heavier than this. So with that in mind, I think the fairest way to do it is not going to be by weight, but I think it's going to be by volume. So now it's difficult to measure volume with all these different shapes, but I have an idea for that. I'm going to take it, I'm going to put all my aluminum into a container, put water in there, and then I'm going to mark it. Then I'll take the aluminum out, and then I'll put the brass in there, then I'll take it out, and then I'll put the copper in there.
And just as a consideration, if you see that little subscribe button down below blinking at you every time I say subscribe, you might want to consider hitting it. It'll go away.
If you're curious what they weighed, the aluminum was just over 14, the brass was just over 35, and then the copper came in at almost 39. Alright, before we can melt, I don't care who made it, always check for leaks. Some soapy water. Spray bottle would be nice, but I don't have one.
Forge lit nice and easy. I did let it get up to temperature, and I actually used it a few times before I even tested. Before each test, I let it run for about 15 minutes. The aluminum I did in a different crucible. I wish I had a different crucible for all three, but I didn't. If anybody know what this bright flash is, let me know. We are going to go over the numbers on the side later on in the video and do a comparison. It looks super bright because it was later in the evening. Now I did pour one other thing. I did a full 12 kilogram pour, and let me tell you, this thing is massive. It only took about 10 minutes to fill up, however I did have some really long extruded aluminum. It was boiling water over an hour later. Alright, so what's my conclusions? And let's not forget the not so good and the tips. Alright, quality, fit, finish, and feel. I thought it was all good except for the flame tubes. There was a little bit of burrs on there. Other than that, everything felt good. Nothing felt janky or falling apart or thin and flimsy. I really overliked the quality. Alright, so smelt time. Here's how long it took. Now keep in mind, I already had it heated up for all tests. Here's how much they weighed, and here's what they look like. Keep in mind, I just got them up to melting temperature, so they're ugly. Alright, so on to the things that I think could be improved. The handle is definitely one of them. I did use this thing a lot on and off camera, however, it's already burning off. There's one other possible con that I want to mention, and that's going to lead us right into our tips, which is the tank size. I really think you need a 30, 40, or 100 in order to use this properly, and since chances are you got a double burner for speed, you're going to want to be able to use that. So I would recommend picking up a little bit of a bigger tank. So that's tip number one. Get yourself a bigger tank, 30, 40, or 100. Tip number two is going to be, don't be using muffin tins. It's really hard to see people pouring into Teflon and watching all the toxic carcinogens going into the air and into our ecosystem. Tip number three, I know it's popular to use cans, but they're actually not a good casting metal. If you want a good casting aluminum, look for something that's already been casted that has a seam in it, and that's going to give you a better cast than if you were to take and use cans. Also, there's a lot of fumes that come off the cans, and it can really make you sick. I tried small stainless steel condiment bowls, but I ended up getting stuck in there and I had to melt it out. Alright, let's talk a little bit about value for money. This thing does double as a forge, which I used, and I'm going to use in the future. So to me, that's a very big value. I also really like the double burners, and to me, for it being $50 more than some of your standard ones, I think it's absolutely worth it. So would I recommend it to a friend? Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'll put a link below. I hope you find this helpful. If you did, give me a fist bump. Till next time, keep creating.